This is a time to cultivate this aliveness of the inner space of consciousness. All of the practices that we're doing stir that innermost place. They remove sort of encrusted obstacles or thicknesses in our inner awareness. They help to, as it were, carve a path of experiential access into deeper and deeper places within us. It all happens very naturally and spontaneously as we practice in this way. And when we least expect it, as it were, we find that we're just resting in this extraordinarily expansive, expanded place that is bringing us the capacity to register what is deeper and deeper inside us. This happens always in our daily meditation practice. We set aside the worldly activities that are all very important, for sure. But yet we make a space in our life to cultivate this place of the innermost depth, of the lotus of the heart, of the cave of the heart, of the divine flame of consciousness, of that light that is always irradiating deep inside, to bathe and bask in that light, to, as it were, be nourished by its radiance, its fullness, its intensity, its capacity truly to instill itself into our awareness and to remove those aspects of our surface functioning in life that are just interfering in a certain way, to allow agitations to smooth out, to allow distracting energies to simply relinquish their grip on our awareness, such that we bring back into focus in yet a deeper way each time the true reality of who and what we are. Each time we reach a deeper place and we register and settle and experience and savor and are delighted and surprised and also deeply, deeply grounded by what it is that we touch inside ourselves. This is the path of our sadhana, and it is a constant evolutionary process of sequential discovery of what it is that we are, who we are, what is actually alive inside us, such that we don't live life limited only to our surface personality, to our focus on the outer objects of existence. That is not unimportant, but nevertheless, it's not everything. By no means is it everything. And we really don't want the journey of this life to pass by and leave us having never tasted, savored, entered into, registered, experienced, touched these innermost spaces of existence itself. That is really, it is a tragedy that is happening even at this moment in the lives of so many, to be born in this human body, which is a mechanism, a machinery for existing and experiencing every level of reality, and to never avail ourselves of what is potentially hidden deep within, that reveals itself suddenly so sweetly, so generously, so abundantly, just by our learning how to turn within more and more. And as we know, with practices, we practice our practices over and over again, not just once, but many times. What it is that assists us in forms of practice that even more potently open up this innermost space of reality. What is there is astonishing, exquisite, sublime, indescribable, sacred in its ultimate value, necessary for our life, and capable of yielding a profundity of radical transformation that is otherwise not possible. So we're practicing. It's just it's just such an astonishing thing to realize what is inside us. A few days cultivating access to the living experience of that. We repeat 10,000 times. It does not suffice merely to assert the philosophical truth of the very self, of the divine, of the absolute. It is a beautiful assertion. It is an inspiring assertion. It is an illuminating assertion intellectually, perhaps, but it does not suffice. From the very beginning, and certainly this tradition that we are carrying forward has insisted on the immediacy of direct experience. And for years I've been talking about the argument of experience. The argument, not in the sense of a fight or anything like that, but the exposition of that sequence of understandings that removes doubt, eradicates superficiality, and ignites the inner illumination more and more. So, yes, we consider these things, we talk about them, we study the teachings, the texts, the sayings of the great masters, all of these, we are relishing in that way. But we're particularly relishing all of that because we already have at least the beginnings of that mysterious avenue of access to the innermost self. Each such teaching is there to simply describe and validate and really give a kind of intellectual shape and formation in our minds to what it is that we're registering in the subtlest pulse of the inner silence within. And as we gather in this way, yes, we have teachings, but we're primarily focused on cultivating that inner state. The inner voice wants to speak inside you much more clearly, intensely, and continuously. She is the goddess of the absolute word, and she stirs the assemblage of sequences of inspired insight and knowledge, shaping them and coalescing them into the inner guidance and the inner illumination, the inner discourse, the inner commentary, as it were, the voice of wisdom that comments on the superficial events of life. When we interpret life superficially, then our wisdom is partial and incomplete and often quite diluted. But when increasingly, to the degree that we're able, we can release that inner contraction and begin to experience the narrative, the discourse of the eye of wisdom of the supreme word within, that then tells us the deeper truth of what is happening. On the surface, it may be tragic. Our emotions may want to respond with various kinds of complaints of various sorts against life. And the question then is, how do we relinquish that contracted state of being caught only? We're not saying the complaints aren't valid, maybe they are, but how do we rise to a higher place to actually see the message, the lesson, the freedom, the gift, actually, even sometimes in the things that our surface mind may continue to complain about as well. And then inwardly, we begin to realize, actually, I am complaining about something, but actually, I am being liberated and saved. And in a preemptive way, I am being held in the hand of compassion and grace and divine protection increasingly. So we all hope and aspire for this as we do our practices together, that divine upsurge of clarity of the Shuddha Vidya, the refined wisdom of life, which isn't just a philosophy or a set of philosophical teachings, but is a condition in which the deepest, truest meaningfulness of life is constantly laid bare for our perception, understanding, and realization. We cultivate that celestial perception, just the stirring in the deepest place of the innermost heart, the throb of the spanda deep within. And when it throbs in a particular way, it animates the flow of grace that takes the form of divine compassion, as we all need that compassion